This is what I saw. Such a big trend. That's why I thought that was me.
Good evening. Today is October 22nd, 2024. Welcome to the San Marino Unified School District Board of Education meeting. Here's our board president, Shelley Ryan.
Thank you, Claude. All right. I am opening the regular session. It is 7:01. Let's do roll call. Mrs. Lamb,
Here.
Mrs. Chan,
Here.
Mrs. Gill,
Here.
Mr. Chang,
Yeah.
Mrs. Ryan, I, student board member, Ms. Ta.
Here.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Lena Richter to introduce our student leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. The Pledge of Allegiance will be done by Kenzie Chu. San Marino High School will lead the Board of Education in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, President Ryan. Kenzie, too, we are excited to invite you this evening to lead the board in the salute to flag and share a little bit about your school as a senior attendant at San Marino High School. So please join us and feel free to introduce anyone that you brought along with you to support you. At the podium, please.
Well, hello. Thank you for that lovely introduction. I'm Kenzie. I'm a senior at San Marino High School. With me, I brought my mother. And yeah, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Okay. Well, again, thank you for that lovely introduction. I just want to thank you guys for the opportunity to speak in front of all of you guys. I'm so honored that I was able to represent what San Marino stands for, and I'm so proud of all the activities that I've been able to dedicate my time to throughout in high school. Namely, one of my proudest one is ASB. I've been part of it for like 5 years, ever since 7th grade. You just meet the coolest people. And I don't know if it's just because it's my senior year, but it really does feel like a family. This year, especially, it's a lot of homecoming painting right now. Just came from it, actually. I'm covered in paint, but it's okay. But one of the events that I'm proudest that we've recently brought to San Marino was our Soka Senior event, which is coming off of a TikTok trend, but it was a great way to financially support ASB. And basically, we got a huge line of willing seniors. We didn't force anybody, but they got drenched in hoses and buckets of water. And for a first time event, we earned $800 for ASB. Wow. So I hope it's a cool tradition we can bring in for next year. Also, sophomore year, I very spontaneously joined basketball with zero athletic ability. And I joined with Chloe, who's on Frosh as our captain. And I could never imagine doing a varsity sport, nevertheless, even a sport. So it's been really great. Right now we're in preseason, which means just waking up at 5:30 and lifting weights. But it's been fun. You meet the most driven and passionate people through the program. So athletics has been a huge part of my life. Over the years, I've also gotten involved in so many different clubs on campus. One of the long-term ones has been Lendapaw, where recently we've been, our mission is to help local humane societies by fundraising and spreading awareness about their missions. And through this, we actually recently just toured their facilities and got our members to learn about their backstory and their own mission to see how we can help with their mission. Also recently for Girl Up, I'm publicity this year. We collabed with Cooking for the Community to deliver all sorts of homemade meals like cookies and snickerdoodles and all sorts of desserts to different organizations of San Marino, for namely City of Hope, the San Marino Police Department, and most importantly, this is more of a sensitive topic, but we donated to Butterflies Haven, which provides a safe environment for sexual assault victims. But it was an incredibly important mission for all of us, so we wanted to do anything we could do to help. And we were able to donate at least 2 trunkfuls of food to all of these organizations. The last club that I want to mention that I'm most passionate about this year is NAHS, National Art Honor Society. Actually, it just came from there too. So, but we promote service through art and host craft workshops twice a month. And it's important to me just because I joined ASB as publicity, and that was a great way to get my art out there and recognized. And so I just want to be able to spread that word and have more people be recognized for that talent. Recently, we have been finding so much love through all sorts of groups on campus. We got reached out to by Drama to do a set piece for them for their upcoming play. Baseball reached out to help to get some dugout projects and like get some posters up in there to raise more spirit. And we just finished our project with robotics, which was raising money for Camp Del Corazon through their movie night. And we provided our face painting services, which we will also do at this Friday's football game. So come out, support NHS. But yeah, again, thank you so much for the opportunity to come here. Also as a third year school board, San Marino Schools Foundation intern, I see how much you guys all do for us, and you guys pour your whole heart into this job. So I want to express my appreciation. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Lindsay, thank you so very much for that wonderful presentation. We'd like you to come to the front and center because we're gonna provide you with a certificate of appreciation for leading us in the pledge and for telling us about your experience as a student. And you are one busy young lady. So thank you for doing all the things that you do. Here's your certificate of appreciation. We're gonna take a photo and we'll let your mom take a photo, but then we want your mom to come up here and join us for another photo. And can we get the principal, please? Thank you. Cool. You just want to, you can do this. This is a memory made. No, it's okay. Yeah. It should be very loud. This is very wonderfully loud. Thank you so much, Mary. Thank you so much. Thank you. Of course. Thank you, Kenzie.
Thank you, Kenzie. All right. Next, I'd like the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Move to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Ms. Gill.
Second.
Thank you. Who said second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chang. And so with that roll call, Ms. Lamb,
Aye.
Mrs. Chong, Mrs. Gill,
Aye.
Mr. Chang,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, I, and Ms. Ta. Thank you. Motion has passed to approve the agenda. Next, I'd like the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the October 8th meeting minutes?
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mrs. Lamb. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Chang. Roll call, Mrs. Lamb,
Aye.
Mrs. Sean.
Same.
Oh.
For absence.
I wasn't here.
Okay. Mrs. Gill.
Aye.
Mr. Chang.
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, I, and Ms. Ta. All right, public comment. The Board of Education has adopted Board Policy 9323B to ensure the public's right to be heard in any matters pertaining to the San Marino Unified School District. Persons who wish to provide public comment will have three options to submit public comment. First, you may submit through an online form. As of 3:30 this afternoon, we did not have any submissions. Second, you can request to speak during the meeting via Zoom. Kwok, are there any attendees?
There are.
Okay, so please give us a minute.
1 minute starting now.
Mhm.
Communications from the audience regarding matters not on the agenda or items in the consent or information sections, please provide your comments now. For items in the action section of the agenda, please provide your comments prior to the board beginning discussion on those items. If you would like to speak, please press the raise hand icon to make a request. If you are calling in from home, please dial *9 to make a request or submit a public comment card. There are 30 seconds left. And no hands were raised.
All right, thank you, Clark. Next, you may request to speak during the meeting in person via the public comment card. Jennifer, are there any cards? All right, there's no cards at this time. Consent section. Do I have a motion to approve the consent section 8A to 8J?
Move to approve consent section 8A through 8J.
Thank you, Mrs. Gill.
Second, but I just had a question.
Okay, go ahead with your question.
I was just wondering, Dr. Choi, if you could give a little bit of background as to the budget adjustments?
Sure. The budget adjustments, it is actually a routine adjustment that we do every year at the prior to first interim. And it's no different this time. We just wanted to give the latest information that we have prior to the first interim report.
Significant changes based on, were there any significant changes in terms of our unanticipated expenditure compared to our previous budget?
I would say the most significant change would be the additional revenue that has come in or that we anticipate and project to be coming in due to increased enrollment and anticipated increased ADA.
Thank you. With that, I had a motion from Mrs. Gill and then a second from Ms. Chong. Roll call, Mrs. Lamb.
Aye.
Mrs. Chong. Mrs. Gill.
Aye.
Mr. Chang.
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, aye, and Ms. Ta.
Aye.
Thank you. So the consent section 8A and 8J has been approved. Next, communication section, communication from the Board of Education. We ask that each board member take no more than 2 to 3 minutes to share their communication. Mrs. Lamb.
Thank you. So I recently listened in on the Partnership for Awareness's workshop or event about the power of sleep. And it was very enlightening because I know all of us probably don't get as much sleep as we wish we get. I know that as a fact for myself. But it really was a focus more on the students and how lack of sleep affects their mental health. And the focus of this topic is because there are some schools that actually advocate for having earlier school start times, and that a healthy school start time is 8:30 a.m., which is what San Marino is doing. So it was very enlightening in that way because I used to actually attend school at 7:30 a.m. and it is not actually a very healthy start for our teenagers and our kids. So it was a really great event that I attended. Thank you.
Mhm. Mhm. Thank you, Mrs. Chong.
Yeah, so I think most of my communications with the community have been surrounding Measure M, addressing any questions different members have had, addressing some information that may be misunderstandings or lack of information or even sometimes misinformation, which have been really great opportunities to engage with the community, to really find out where people's thoughts are at. And that's pretty much been what I've been doing.
All right. Thank you, Mrs. Chong. Mrs. Gill.
I have been to some PTA meetings, namely HMS and Valentine, and a lot of discussion is going on around Measure M, and I've been to some garden party coffees about that, able to answer some questions, and it's just been nice to be in touch with the community, also especially the parents with children in private schools who don't necessarily have as much day-to-day contact with our facilities needs. So I think that was really important. I'm looking forward to going to Huntington Breakfast. And there are so many holiday things coming up that I'm just happy to take a breath now before it all starts. And then homecoming Friday. So yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Chang.
I also attend those event Paul just mentioned. One of event I attend, I like to share with each of you because I feel it's very meaningful. As I also volunteer for another organization. As you know, the last year the Montreal Park have a master shooting. So end up, the President Biden also come, and then I think this also is a mental issue. So finally, my organization decided to help and set up a Hope Resilient Center at the Montreal Park. So mean all the victims, they welcome, they come back to the center, with the psychologist, mental health provider, so they can help them to recover. And besides that, I welcome all the people. Before something happen, I think, if they have a mental issue, so they can they share and then may get some prevention. Besides that, I appreciate, our Superintendent Dr. Territory have a city club talk. Yeah, I think that's good. Share with the community how good right now for the school district apply to the 4 school site. Besides that, I also have my healthcare conference at the San Diego 3-day. So we are studying about the PACE program. The PACE program is the one, as you know, when the population going too old, and then they may not have their family member to taking care. They have a Medicare, so then they can come to the center. So the provider, they can provide them 24/7, just instead of like the family member. So then we can contact them and maintain a 24/7 contact, and if they get sick to the ER or the hospital, and we were taking care of them. I think that this is the new model of the Medicare product. So I think this also is going to be popular because when you go to the 70, you may not have a family member, especially your kid, maybe in the out of state. Yeah, nobody taking care. Yeah. I also attend the school facility tour. So as you know, the school district provide a tour. So I attend the first one. I think the visitor attend the tour. I think they should appreciate, they in person, they can see how it works, our facility. They really need to help financially and go to the consideration whether they want to support the major M or not. I think the last I have for last 2 weeks.
Thank you, Mr. Chang. And with that note, I just want to piggyback on your comment, and I want to thank, on behalf of the board, thank our cabinet, our principals, and everyone who has, Mary was there on a Saturday morning, and I said, "What are you doing here?" And she goes, "Well, we're going to have a tour, and I want to make sure everything looks the way it's supposed to look," right? So, giving up their Saturdays, but also just working overtime to really support the needs of our community. And that's above and beyond your regular responsibilities. So thank you for all of that. Just a very short report on my end. I attended the San Marino's football game on the 11th. I attended some coffees and our community members hosting regarding Measure M at Marla and Raymond's. And then City Club had their meeting on the 15th, and PISMA, Asian Pacific Islander School Board Members Association is presenting at CSBA, and their presentation is on mental health. So right up your alley, Mr. Chang. Next, communication from the school board member, Ms. Chloe Ta.
Thank you. So at HMS, they had their 7th grade outdoor education 2 weeks ago. And at the high school last Saturday was a coronation dance. It was super fun. The theme was Bejeweled. And this week, Carver and Valentine are celebrating Red Ribbon Week. And next week, Carver is having their Enrichment Week. HMS is going to have their haunting breakfast this Saturday. And next week, the 8th graders will be going to Pally. And at the high school, it's going to be a very, very busy week because Friday we have the homecoming parade, the homecoming and senior night game versus Poly. And there are also going to be a homecoming art show in the White Adobe. And next week, we'll be having our Red Ribbon Week. Thanks.
Thank you. And Dr. Delatorre, communication from Superintendent.
Thank you, President Ryan. In response to the board's request for more information on developer fees, the district has consulted with both the City of San Marino and the County of Los Angeles to clarify how these fees are calculated and collected. Property owners within the City of San Marino are required to calculate and pay their school fees at City Hall. For property owners in the unincorporated areas of Pasadena and San Gabriel, but within SMUSD boundaries, they must first visit the County of Los Angeles Department of Public Works to obtain what is called a permit detailed report. They will then bring this report to the SMUSD business office where the fees will be calculated and paid. Additionally, the district has created a new web page to summarize and outline the process for easy reference. It is also interesting to note that there is possibly new legislation that may change when school fees are collected, and we will closely be monitoring any new developments on that front. So I hope that answers the board's question on developer fees. And I am very pleased to, again, reiterate that we do have very detailed information on our website now that really helps people to better understand the process of paying for and submitting developer fees, which is a little unique in San Marino. The other issue that I wanted to just clarify with the Board of Education is we have been going back and forth on the amount of money that the school district is eligible to apply for at the state level if Measure M passes and Prop 2 passes. And I think when Dr. Lynn was here, they were calculating or estimating around $6 million. And then, you know, as we were looking at things, we thought maybe that would go up to $13 million.
It's 22, right? 22? No,
Even more.
oh,
Yes. So there are two categories. Two categories that the state uses that we can apply for grants. One category is modernization, and the other category is new construction. So we have obtained information from school facilities consultants in writing, and then we followed up, Dr. Stephen Choi and myself this morning via a Zoom meeting with the consultant to go over this report to make sure that we understand how the calculation is performed and what it means to our school district should Measure M pass and Prop 2 passes. And by the way, everybody seems to think that Prop 2 is going to pass because the polling has been really strong for Proposition 2. So the bottom line is this: under new construction eligibility, the school district could apply for an estimated 50% state grant in the amount of $21,289,000.
21 million.
21 million. I'm so
Deja vu.
and I did it at the Carver meeting. I'm stuck on 1,000. I'm sorry, let me say that again, $21,289,500. Okay, sorry, I don't know why. Good Lord. So in addition to that, for severe SDC grants, we would qualify to apply for $531,768. And under the category of modernization, the state share, should we apply for this today, would be $13,234,316. So that's substantial compared to what we thought it was going to be initially. And this is again, the amount that we are eligible to apply for as a school district if we have a plan that it has been approved by both the California Department of Education and the Department of State Architects. So that's DSA and CDE would have to apply, approve our construction plan for either new spaces or modernization of existing spaces. But this is a lot more money than we originally thought, and I just wanted to clarify with the Board of Education that it's like 34.5 million total that we would be eligible to apply for. Yes.
I think it's worth noting that that would not be added onto our bond that we would have to repay. That would be coming from the state general fund, right?
That would be coming from the state. If we, again, have those plans approved by CDE and DSA. So we have to get in line with all the other school districts. And they told us today that there are a lot of school districts already in line because the money that was already in queue has it been exhausted. So we received $2.4 million of that money for the Barth Athletics Complex. And we applied for it and it took about 3.5 years to get it. And it would be the same process. We would get in line. Once we have our construction or modernization plans approved, we would send that to school facility consultants and they would submit that to the state on our behalf. And then we wait, right? And it could be, 2-3 years before we see that money, but it's money that we could actually receive from the state that we would have to match. But if we pass our bond, we would be matching that in both categories, new construction and modernization. And the formula that they use has to do with your growth as a school district. So the number of students that you have, and the number of classrooms that you have. And their state has a calculation on the capacity for educating the number of students that you have at each school. And it has to do with square footage, the number of classrooms you have. And we had a question on whether or not the state has in fact included the portables at the elementary school in the existing number. And we're not sure that they have, because when we purchased the portables used back in 2000, it wasn't our intention to continue to use them as classroom space. We purchased them as temporary housing for when we were building on the campus or there was construction on the campus and we needed to temporarily house students, because up until probably 4 years ago, some of those portables were being used for other things other than classroom space. One portable at Carver was being used as an occupational therapy room, I believe. At one time, we were using portables for music, for choir, for band, for those kinds of things. They've been used for a lot of different things. One, I think, was dedicated to Chinese school. And so we weren't relying on those portables back in 2000, or even 2010 for that matter, as classroom spaces where we would actually have kids in those rooms. Because of our growth, we're now at capacity with those portables that are used. So we know that they're deteriorating and we need permanent classrooms for those kids. That we're going to continue to educate, and with the laws changing regarding the age that students are eligible to enroll in transitional kindergarten, being younger and younger, we're seeing an increase in our enrollment at the elementary schools. So another interesting thing that she shared with us this morning is that if our enrollment became stagnant at what it is right now, that we probably wouldn't get as much money in 3 years from now if our enrollment stayed the same. But if our enrollment has a bump up in the 3rd year, we would qualify for more. And so it's really interesting how they make these calculations so incredibly complex. But we are learning every day more and more about those calculations and how we can benefit from them. So we're really excited to be able to share that positive news with the board. And it is just that, it's very positive news. So the last thing I just wanted to say is that tonight you're going to hear from all of our amazing principals and our wonderful Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services on all the hard work that's being done at the schools. Mr. Chang mentioned earlier that we have had a lot of good news to share recently, and this is all good news. We are the #1 top performing unified school district in the entire state of California based on our ELA and our math CAS scores. So proud of these principals and our Assistant Superintendent of Ed Services and our parents and our students and everybody who just works so hard to make sure that we are Where we need to be. And that is at the very top.
In my presentation.
Sorry, no. I'm sorry. I love it. No. But I feel that I have to recognize all of you in that work and also the board for your leadership and your vision and working so incredibly hard on supporting the work that is being done at the schools. And Chloe, you are the student board member representative. The students, I mean, you guys have just really done so incredibly well, and especially at the high school this year, getting the National Blue Ribbon. And so thank you and all of the other students for all of the hard work that you do to make us so proud every single day. And with that, I have Jennifer Delatorre, who is coming in. Here she comes. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to.
Right. So
Okay.
special happy birthday to our board member, Jane.
I'm gonna turn it
I know.
Ryan, I'd like to say a few words. Go ahead, President Ryan.
All right, so on behalf of the board, we want to wish you a very special birthday year this year. I know every year is a birthday year, right? But we didn't see you for your birthday, and so we wanted to celebrate with you. And so in your honor, I baked the cake myself. I know people don't know what I actually do during the day, but
I formed the candles, yeah. I picked
Bees
Joseph's
fire. Bees that were pollinated from Joseph's own garden. Hey, no, my birthday is actually tomorrow, so.
oh, I thought you went away.
Actually, you're actually early, so let the festivities begin, I guess.
Let us be the first to wish you a very happy.
Yes.
Happy
Yeah.
No, that's a mom right there. That's a mom. Only mom.
Big, right?
Like,
Like,
ever
ever
since
since
COVID.
COVID.
That's
Ever
true.
since COVID. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Risk management. Where's my risk management?
He managed it well.
Did you hear that, Jane? I yelled risk management. Is there gonna be any litigation on this?
No, there was no damage. There was no damage that occurred, so we're good. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jennifer.
So
For the public health, makes sense.
Yes. No,
Right.
pandemic, like anytime anybody, right, like, I'm always like.
Gosh, that's so considerate.
So, yes. Okay, but thank you very much.
All right.
Moving on.
I was blown everywhere.
Did you want to do a birthday speech or anything?
No.
Okay.
We could sing to you. We can sing to her.
All right.
You want us to sing to you?
No, we're sure.
The principals sing to you. How about that?
Yes, they all have beautiful
All right.
voices.
All right.
They all have beautiful
Stuart's
voices.
always
I'm
ready.
gonna rescue you guys. This next section is information items. I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Lena Richter, who will present on the 2023-2024 state CASP assessment data. Dr. Richter.
Thank you, President Ryan, members of the board, student board member Chloe Ta, Dr. Delatorre, our superintendent, and executive cabinet. This evening, I'm extremely pleased to share with you a brief overview, because there's a lot to celebrate, of our 2024 CASP assessment data. We also will be inviting our amazing principals up to share their site-specific data with regards to 2024 CASP. So as you're aware, on October 10th of 2024, the state of California released the 23-24 California Assessment of Student Progress and Performance, also known as the CAS, the summary reports showcasing student achievement across all public schools and districts. The CASP is a computer adaptive standardized assessment administered to all public school students in grades 3 through 8 and 11. These assessments measure proficiency in English language arts, math or mathematics, and science. Tonight's presentation will provide a brief but very impressive overview of the 2024 CASP assessment data by highlighting district and school data. The 2024 CASP assessment data really underscores, as Dr. Delatorre and President Ryan shared, the outstanding commitment to excellence and the steadfast effort of San Marino Unified, our amazing students, our dedicated staff, our supportive community, our amazing teachers, and our Board of Education, who willingly maintain an unwavering commitment to student success and expect nothing but the best for our students. And finally, we'll share a little bit of next steps. So before we begin, I would like to share some of the highlights that I really believe set the tone for the rest of my presentation. We are extremely pleased to share that after reviewing assessment data of nearly 1,000 public school districts in California, San Marino Unified has been identified, as we have shared tonight, as the top performing unified school district in the state based on CAS scores in English language arts and math, demonstrating performance levels ahead of many neighboring school districts. And this is truly important to note because, as we all know, as student performance and student achievement rises and we're performing at high levels, it's even more difficult to continue that growth. But we are very pleased to share that San Marino continued that growth and demonstrated increases in student performance in ELA and math this year. Carver and Valentine demonstrated increases in performance on the 5th grade California science test, and San Marino High School demonstrated strong performance in the areas of English language arts and math. As measured by the 2024 CASP, 89% of all students tested district-wide met or exceeded standards in ELA. And 87% of students tested met or exceeded standards in math, demonstrating a 0.26% increase in ELA and a 1.47 increase in math when compared to last year's assessment data. What's even more impressive is that when we look at the colored bands here, both for ELA and math, we see did not meet, nearly met, and exceeded standards. We see the greatest percentage of our students represented in the exceeding standards, here shown in the blue band. So when you look at students who met and exceeded, which would be the green and the blue, the highest percentage is reflected in that blue band. And I think that's extremely impressive. Here we see data disaggregated by the percentage of students who met or exceeded grade level standards. Again, observing impressive percentages of students meeting or exceeding grade level standards across all grade levels. And this really shows many grade levels performing at or near or even above 90%. Equally impressive is out of the percentage of students who met or exceeded standards, again, even by grade level and district-wide, the larger percentage of these students fell in the exceeded column, shown here in red when compared to the met column, which you would see in the blue. This slide shows the same data with the percentage of students for math who met or exceeded grade level standards, again demonstrating strong progress across all grade levels, with a few grade levels performing near, at, or above 90% proficient. And once again, even in math, out of the percentage of students meeting or exceeding standards, we see the larger percentage of students by grade level and district-wide falling into the exceeded column, which is red, when compared to the blue having met. And I think this is very impressive when we look at the percentage of students having met or exceeded standards. On this slide, we see year-over-year comparisons for ELA. From one year to the next, we observe impressive percentages of students meeting and exceeding standards across all grade levels, showing many grade levels, again, performing at, near, or above 90% proficiency. And we see this significant growth in grades 4, 5, and 11, demonstrating a 7%, 4%, and 6% increase from last year, respectively. On this slide, we see the same data for math from one year to the next. Again, impressive percentages of students meeting or exceeding standards. Again, many grade levels near, at, or above the 90%, punctuating the outstanding commitment to excellence of our community. And significant growth here in mathematics is shown in grades 4 and 5, demonstrating a 7% and a 6% increase respectively. Here on this side, we see English language arts and math with data over past years with change in progress highlighted in the very bottom row. In ELA, we observe strong growth demonstrated across grade levels with grade level cohort data also demonstrating mostly positive growth trajectory as students matriculate through grade levels. In math, we observe strong growth demonstrated across almost all grade levels, again with grade level cohort data, also demonstrating an overall positive growth trajectory. With the majority of grade levels demonstrating positive change in overall, the percentage of students meeting or exceeding standards in ELA and math, we do recognize that we'd like to see all of our students meeting and exceeding standards. So we do know that our work still continues. Uh-oh, are we missing a slide? We are. We're missing my science slide. Not on that. Okay, well, I'm going to go on to the next one then. So we'll get back to that. So I'd like to conclude my portion of the presentation with a few slides that show how San Marino ranks among some of the districts we often compare ourselves to or neighboring school districts. And here we see the data for ELA. The light blue bottom half of the bar represents percentage met or exceeded last year, 2023, actually 2 years ago now, with the dark top half with dark blue representing percentage met or exceeded in 2024. And as we can see, and that has been shared here tonight multiple times, SMUSD ranks at the top when compared to other local districts. And we think that is very impressive. We see the same here for math, SMUSD ranking at the top when compared to other districts. Based on these last two slides, it's clear how San Marino has been identified as the top performing school district, unified school district in the state of California. And lastly, this slide shows the 2024 CAST or science assessment data in comparison to these same districts. When compared to this same district here, San Marino Unified demonstrated to outperform all but only one school district. So this clearly shows that science continues to be an area of focus for many school districts across the state. And lastly, now that the district has this data, what actionable next steps will we be implementing or will we be focusing on? This slide shows a very comprehensive list of actions that we have committed to ensure the district's focus on promoting progress for every student. Partnering with focus schools on professional consulting, data-focused professional learning days, facilitation of data-driven school scorecards, engaging in instructional rounds, formative assessment and interventions, tutoring structures across all grade levels, PBIS and restorative practices, and alignment of LCAP goals and actions to board priorities, excuse me, and much, much more. Now, at this time, I would like to extend the invitation to our principals to come up and present their impressive 2024 school data. And Principal Caldwell will begin with Carver.
Oh my gosh, you gave me a microphone. Always a dangerous thing. So thank you, Dr. Richter. Thank you, President Ryan, board members, and executive cabinet. This is literally, we're experiencing you can have your cake and eat it too moment. Is that what's going on here because of the test data that we're reviewing? So Carver is very, very pleased to be part of helping to make San Marino Unified the top performing school district in the state of California. You can see, as Dr. Richter shared, that the number of kids who met or actually exceeded the goals in ELA and math far outweighs the number who met, or certainly those that still have work to do. We're very, very proud of this. We thank Dr. De La Torre and cabinet for coming and bringing breakfast to us on Monday to help our staff to recognize those things. It was very appreciated. We know as a staff, and as we've talked with our grade level leads and all of our teachers, though it's only third, fourth, and fifth that get tested, every teacher at Carver plays a role in helping to make these scores what they are. And I think that's important to recognize because we do go from TK all the way through grade 5 and we push the kids up into the other grades. Every teacher here at Carver and in San Marino Unified helped to make these scores what they are. So I had a little bit of the longitudinal data that Dr. Richter shared as well. What's really impressive in this for me, when you look at our ELA, if you look at the let's start with fourth grade on ELA for 2023, you can see, and my eyes are not good enough to read that all the way there, but I think it's 88%. Then you look at where they landed in fifth grade, they grew to 91%. So that's those same kids year for year. Similar, we'll look at the math here now. You can look at the third graders at 90%, they stayed level. 90% is a healthy number. I mean, 90% met or exceeded and they're staying there. That's a different group of kids each year that's doing that. Look then at the fourth grade in 2023, 82% grew up to what? What's that number? 93%, right? So massive growth, and then 84% up to 88. So our teachers are making a difference. Our students are learning as demonstrated by the data. We know the CASP is a snapshot in time rather than something that we can take and really use to inform our educational practices. It gives us big program overview rather than day-to-day information. CAST, which is something that Dr. Richter also talked about. We have here a 5-year trend, of course, missing the year for COVID. And we can see that we had some years where Carver was above 80%, but we made growth this past year. And our teachers are committed to continuing to work on science from TK all the way through grade 5. And I'm going to talk about that in just a second. This is relative to our reflections. It's important when we hit this marker, and my PTA president, Annie Tang, said, "Don't bury the lead, Stuart. You are one of the top schools in the state of California," and it's something that our parents, it matters to our community, matters to our parents. Importantly, our teachers deserve to celebrate this. So it's something that we will be celebrating all year as we continue to move forward. I talked about the growth that we've made there, so you have some of the points there we have. One of the things that's relevant to this is our PTA really is behind supporting the instructional efforts. And when we look at allocations, we talked about the amazing amount of money that our PTA raised at the parent party. They're directly looking at applying that to bringing in an after-school STEM program for grades 1 through 5, right? And committing their financial resources to work with us in partnership to do those things for the science side of things. We certainly are going to continue to engage in supporting our UDL, or differentiated instruction practices, our PBIS. Small group instruction is something that we're really focusing on this year. I know Mr. Calpine and I talk about that. That's something both schools are focusing on, and continuing to enhance our professional practices across the campus. I found this quote that I really liked, and it's something that we kind of look for inspiration all the time, or at least I do. Everybody has talent, but ability takes hard work. Michael Jordan. When we think about people who are performing at the top already, like Michael Jordan was, sometimes you have to work so much harder to just shave a fraction of a second off your running time. Our teachers are willing to do that hard work. They dive in and they do it day to day because they get the joy of seeing our students excel every single day. Toward that end, I know that Dr. Richter shared the scorecard. This was our scorecard for 2023. This was developed school-wide to give you an example of some of the work that we're going to be doing at Carver. Each grade level will be creating their own grade level scorecard, utilizing the data from the school and analyzing that both from the CASP for grades 3 through 5 and from the iReady and other markers to create their own actionable, bold next steps. So the steps that we took actually did help us to achieve at the level that we did. And here they are. We are going to focus on science at every grade level. And again, looking to the PTA to support some after-school programs. All of our students are important to us in every single subject in every single grade, and our teachers really put that work in. PTA is also looking at adding a homework club. You know, we talked about space is maximized in all of our facilities. They're looking at how can we do this at Carver. We know we have tutor.com, which is focused. We know that our teachers engage in supporting students who need help with skills, but having a safe, calm place where they can work on the homework and get a little bit of assistance is really important. We also are doing our UDL or differentiated instructional classroom walkthroughs. In fact, at Carver tomorrow is our planning day for that. I became a better teacher when I became an administrator because all of a sudden I had access to every single classroom. I was able to see the good things that were going on. For both Ms. McAlpine and I, when we started to do these non-judgmental walkthroughs, the teachers all report the exact same experience. And at Carver, our group ballooned. It went from the 4 or 5 that were part of the committee to almost everybody saying, hey, I want to be part of that, because they get to learn from each other by seeing those practices. We are very, very excited about the work that's happening at Carver every single day. Welcome everybody to walk through all of our classes at any point. We're an open book, and we look forward to actually seeing, I hesitate to say this because, you know, you don't want to have a little bit of a sailor, you know, but we look forward to seeing the scores continue to rise.
Thank you.
Can I ask one question before? So how many percent at the Carver with English learner?
Right now, this year, we have 120 English learners. And I just gave the data to our grade level leads at today's meeting. So the bulk of the English learners, I'm going to get the numbers pretty close to accurate, but they might not be right from because they didn't have that in the happy to present the board. 33 of those students are in kindergarten, and it goes down to having 10 English learners in fifth grade. The number of students who are English learners level 1, which might mean that they're newcomers that are brand new to the United States and they possess very or have very little English, they're speaking the probably their primary language. Also, it's heaviest at kindergarten and smallest at first grade. Our English learners also do quite well on the campus. We know that there's work to do there. In fact, I wrote in about using SMUSD strategies, which is something that we really, all of our teachers are focusing on. We know that those strategies are good for not just our English learners, but every single students at Harvard.
Thank you.
Well,
All right, good evening, President Ryan, members of the board, Dr. De La Torre, cabinet and student board member. I'm excited to share with you tonight Valentine Elementary's 2024 CASP and CAST scores. Overall, we did excellent in both English language arts and math, scoring 89% met or exceeded standards in ELA and 90.99% met or exceeded standards in math. What is even more impressive is our 68% of our students who exceeded standards in ELA and almost 71% of students exceeded standards in math, as indicated by that blue band that Dr. Richter shared earlier. We're just so proud of these scores. And so you'll even see with our science, it's really celebrations that we have to share. When we take a look at our year-to-year comparison, years are listed at the top of the graph with our current 2024 scores in orange. Please note that in both ELA and math, we increased our proficiency levels school-wide. We grew 3% overall in ELA
increasing from 86% met or exceeded standards in 2023 to 89% met or exceeded standards in 2024, as indicated by the graph on the left. We also increased our overall proficiency scores in math by 4%, increasing from 87% met or exceeded standards in 2023 to 91% met or exceeded standards in 2024. And that is getting us back to our pre-pandemic 2019 score of 91% proficient in math. When we dive deeper into our English language arts scores by grade level, third grade scores indicated by the blue band show an increase of 4% from 2022 to 2023. However, we did have a 6% decrease in scores in 2024 for third grade. Fourth grade, indicated by the red band, had an impressive 10% growth, going from 84% met or exceeded standards in 2023 to 94% met or exceeded standards in 2024. Fifth grade, represented by the yellow band, also saw impressive growth in 2024 as the grade level increased by 7% overall, going from 87% proficient to 94% proficient in 2024 for ELA. And now let's take a look at our math outcomes. When we look into our math scores by grade level, all grade levels increased in student proficiency. Again, third grade, represented by the blue band, saw an increase of 2% of students who met or exceeded standards. Fourth grade, represented by that red band, increased proficiency by 4%. And fifth grade, represented by the yellow band, increased their percentage of students who met or exceeded standards by 6%. On the California Science Test, this is a test that only our fifth graders take. We also did very well overall. First, I put what the state average for fifth grade students on the science test was, and only 32% proficiency statewide. But at Valentine, almost 85% of our fifth grade students were proficient. Out of that 85% who met or exceeded standards, 55% of students exceeded standards, once again represented by that blue band in the graph. And if we look at how Valentine students are performing year after year on the state science test, in 2004, we increased outcomes by 5% over our 2023 score, which is really huge growth for us on the science test. This is something that we are extremely proud of. And as surrounding elementary schools saw little to no gains on the CAST, we saw a huge gain for us. So we are extremely proud of that. So as we reflect on our scores from 2024, we are extremely proud of all of our scores in ELA, math, and science, as overall scores increased in all areas. We saw school-wide increases of 3% in ELA, 4% in math, and 5% in science. We made significant growth in ELA and math with our fourth and fifth graders. Fourth graders improved 10% in ELA, 4% in math, and fifth grade improved by 7% in ELA and 6% in math. Third grade improved by 2% in math, but decreased by 6% in ELA, which is a focus area for us this year. Our third grade team, we are really working hard to identify essential standards, areas of deficit within student performance, and analyzing our curriculum to plan instruction that prepares students to meet the grade level standards by the spring. When looking at year-to-year grade level cohort data, it shows positive growth in all subject areas at all grade levels as students move from third grade to fifth grade. It's also important to note that we outperformed all surrounding elementary schools on the science test with almost 85% proficiency. And the majority of our third through fifth grade students are exceeding standards in every content area. 68% exceeded in ELA, 71% exceeded in math, and 55% exceeded in science. So we continue to celebrate and appreciate the hard work that every Viking gives daily and allows us to be a top performing school in the state. Our teachers and staff, our students, our parents are all committed to continued academic success. And it really does take all of us as our Viking village, as we say, to really see this growth and to commit to the excellence of our school. So last year, we created a scorecard for our school that highlighted the good news, growth opportunities, bold steps that we were taking to increase our student performance and success. Bold steps included actions such as implementation of small group instruction, use of iReady targeted instruction, implementation of universal design for learning strategies, and teachers are currently taking part in a science and social studies pilot to ensure that our curriculum is sufficient to teaching grade level standards and meeting the needs of our academic levels and rigor. So our actionable next steps include for us to continue to focus on data with intentional instructional decision-making based on the data of our students. Continue to implement small group instruction and personalized learning in all grade levels and differentiate instruction based on students' needs. And that's students who are above grade level and need a challenge, need that acceleration, to students who are below grade level and need reteaching, need interventions throughout their instructional day. We will continue to use the data inquiry cycle during professional development days to dive deeply into our grade level data and create action plans and instructional goals based on what the data is telling us. During professional development days, each grade level will be creating their own scorecard, like the one I shared tonight, highlighting their good news, their growth opportunities, and bold next steps that they will be taking this year to increase student outcomes. Third, fourth, and fifth grade will continue to focus on rigorous science instruction with vertical articulation among the grade levels to prepare our fifth graders to take the cast in spring. We will also continue STEM lessons with Professor Egghead school-wide, and that is thanks to the support of our PTA and our parents. We will continue our strong student success team, our SST process, to ensure appropriate interventions are provided to students who need tier 1 and 2 tier support. We will continue implementation of PBIS to create a positive school culture where students feel safe to learn and can take risk to thrive academically. And we will continue implementation of restorative practices to ensure students feel connected to the school, connected to their classroom communities, their teachers, and their peers. And we will also continue to monitor student attendance as high attendance rates ensure students are receiving the high caliber of instruction provided daily by our teachers. Thank you.
Can you go back to page 29?
29. Is that the score? This one?
Yeah, so on the right top. So recent award, what in the right side, what kind of?
Yeah, so these were our awards that we received last year. So we were a California Distinguished School, as well as receiving bronze implementation of PBIS. This year, we have already surpassed our bronze implementation of PBIS. We are now a gold PBIS implementation school. But those were our awards that we received last year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, President Ryan, members of the board, Superintendent Delatorre, members of the cabinet, student board member, and community members joining us today. I'm proud to share the successes and plans for Huntington Middle School, starting with our ELA and math scores. We too love blue and are proud that our English language art scores for the entire school were 86.97, which we round up to 87. And our mathematics scores were 84.21. I also want to point out that in our math scores, 67% of our students are in that exceeded range. And in our English scores, 52.7 are in the exceeded range. I'll also point out that our ELD kids, our English language learners and our recently fluent students have done outstanding, and I'll show you in the next slide. So they're doing great to help those English scores. Our years of growth show that our 7th graders rocked it this year, which is our current 8th graders. They both earned 89% in ELA, both last year and this year. Our 6th grade went from 92 to 87, which of course we don't love. We do look at the cohort scores, so what we're getting as they come in from 6th grade. I'm thrilled to see all these amazing scores from the elementary. My 6th grade teachers get excited when they see them coming in with high scores. So we hope our scores next year will mirror Carver and Valentine's. But we do see the drop in general. From 92 to 87 are addressing that, and I'll tell you how. And the same with the 8th graders, going from 89% to 85% in ELA. And again, we'll explain how we're going to target that. So that improves. 80s are great, high 80s are great, but we always want to aim for that 90 again. In math, again, our 7th graders rocked it at 86%. And they went from and our 6th graders went from 86 to 84, so we're addressing that little drop. And our 8th graders went from 87 to 82, and so we're addressing that as well. We always want to see growth and we always want to see improvement. But we are targeting intervention this year in a different way, which I'll explain. In our CAS scores, our science scores, we earned a 72.19, and that's test is only given to the 8th graders. And our science teams are always talking about it's a combination test of what they learn in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. But the 8th graders are the only ones that take it. And in previous years, back before COVID, we were in the 70s. And then the first year out of COVID, we were 74. And we popped up to 78 for 2 years. And now we're back down to 72. And our competition up the hill is also stuck in the 70s. And I really don't understand why, because we're the top performing schools, in the state, but we're all sort of below 80. So I think there's something wrong with the test because, the top schools should be doing better because we know our science community, we know our parents, we know the doctors, we know the medical community, we know the scientists in our community, and we as principals talk about it. So we have new science curriculum, which I'll talk about, but I also think we need to maybe dive into that CAS test. But yes, I also included the state average, which is 28.9%. Again, that just seems odd to me, but we are at 72.1, and we are hoping to bring that up to 78 to 80, hopefully next year. So our reflections are, like I said, our 7th graders did a great job. We're very proud of them. We hope they're going to lead the charge this year in the 8th grade scores. Our EL and RFIP students demonstrated progress. 90.65% is what they scored on the ELA test. Our English learners scored 91% on English and 85 on math. So we're so proud, and it's so hard, right? To learn a new language and succeed in school. So that's a testament to our students, our families, and our teachers, how hard we're helping them learn the language and then use it to shine. We're going to focus on all 3, ELA, math, and science moving forward. We have a new updated ELA curriculum for this year. So we use StudySync, and we had a 2016 version, but this year we got the latest version, which is 2023, with updated novels and software and curriculum. So all of the teachers 6th through 8th are now using the StudySync curriculum. In the past, it was mainly the 6th grade teachers who've been using it, but now the 7th grade and 8th grade are also using it. Sorry, I take that back. That's IXL. I'll talk about that. We're piloting the new science curriculum in grades 6 through 8, which is STEM scopes. That's going very well. This is what I was talking about. We're going to utilize IXL in science, English, and math weekly. We have already started that. Sometimes the kids groan because they have enough of IXL, but it provides us so much data, immediate feedback, so we know how to address it. And we purposefully use digestible, shorter assignments so they don't tire of it. And Our social science department is doing weekly DBQ writing assignments, which require inquiry and high-level DOK, which means depth of knowledge questions. Right. Our scorecard is listed as well. What I would like to highlight is, again, down at the bottom, oh, thank you, is our growth opportunities on our bold steps. We too are continuing to implement UDL and instructional walkthroughs and restorative practices. Our IXL, like I said, and NWEA, we're using now religiously to gain immediate data to respond. And I'll say this one more time. The 6th grade had been using English for a while, but now the 7th and 8th graders are using IXL religiously. The math team started with IXL last year in 6th through 8th. But the science team is starting this year with IXL. So we think IXL and NWA is really going to provide us with that immediate feedback to adjust if we need our teaching and learning. And our wellness, so I'm talking about the bold steps at the bottom. Our wellness initiatives continue to grow. Fortunately, we now have an additional wellness counselor who's probably 90% at my campus, and we've created a new counseling room for her and the students. And she and my counselor, June Gonzalez, are always collaborating with our psychologists and me and our administrators and our teachers about what's SEL, social emotional learning, can happen, additional ways we can support our students. And so our referrals and our support of the students continue to grow. And so happy kids do well and do better on tests. Go ahead. So our next steps include, like I said, utilizing NWA and IXL to monitor progress and create those personalized, targeted skills plans. Those skills plans help backfill any knowledge that they need to learn in order to move on and grow. Our new IXL in English 7-8 and Science 6-8. We're piloting our new curriculum in ELD, science, and social science to determine if we want to change that and go with some new vendors and new updated curriculum. We're targeting intervention to help students move up one or more levels on their grades, on the CASP test, and on the CAS test. And I'll talk a little bit just about that. We looked at all of the students who had maybe had, D's and F's on their report card in June. And then I pulled the CASP scores and who had earned 1s and 2s and made a big spreadsheet and shared it with the staff and said, I need you to pick 5 kids. I need us all to adopt 5 kids and reach out and email the families and let the kids know that you care and that you're going to help them do even better this year and feel even better about themselves. And I've had so many positive emails from the parents saying, thank you so much. This is going to encourage me to get my kid to academic support after school. We're on the same page. I thought he went on Monday, but she sent me an email Tuesday morning saying he wasn't there on Monday. We'll make sure he gets there. So I do feel like circling the wagons around these kids is really going to help. And we're doing it, in a positive way. It's not like, they're in trouble. It's like, I really want to help. And the kids are feeling it too. And we talk about targeted intervention at every staff meeting, every department meeting. And at the 5-week progress report, we share that data. At the Q1 grade, we're sharing that data. So we're constantly checking in. And if kid starts to do better, they're going to adopt another one. So we'll be watching them throughout the year. We're going to continue to encourage the students to use tutor.com for 24/7 support. We have the highest number of users in the district. Our kids are really comfortable with it, especially in using it for Math 7, but they go on for only like 25 minutes. So they go on for a few questions and then they move on. So I do think it's useful. And we can also check to make sure they're not going on too late at night and then talk to them about that. And we have exciting new hires. We have 3 new hires in math, 1 in English, 2 in science, and 1 in social science, who bring new practices and enthusiasm to our team. I think that's it. Thank you. Any questions?
And last but not least.
Good evening. Thank you, President Ryan, members of the board, Superintendent De La Torre, and cabinet. Before I begin, I'd like to say when I came here this evening, I came from flag football and we beat Beverly Hills 53-0. And that means in our inaugural season, we are going to CIF playoffs, and the first game will be this Saturday. We don't know where or when yet. All right, well, continuing on with all this awesome news, you can see our percentage of met or exceeded, again, with blue being by far the largest number, and just an incredible ELA percentage of almost 95%, which is just, it's almost hard to fathom that only 5% of our students didn't meet or exceed standards, and 87% in math. And that was both, as you'll see on the next slide, that was an increase for both English and math this year. CAST, I will echo some of the things that Ms. Hazlett just said. It is kind of baffling to me when you look at the state average for this test, but more specifically, when you look at our AP Science results, which are incredibly high, and then you look at our CAST score, which has been flat for years. I think there's definitely something wrong with the assessment. However, I'm not going to use that as an excuse because La Cañada's CAST scores are in the 70s. And so we need to at least be there. And I'll address what we're going to do about it this year when we get to the plans. So here are our scores over the last several years. And again, you can see both ELA and math have risen from last year's already very high results. And again, just incredible numbers. And when I show you the comparisons of other high schools, it's really quite amazing where we wound up this year. Here's the comparisons for our local schools. And again, we're thrilled to be ahead of everybody in our local area. But when I show you the state comparisons, I think I can make a case for us being ahead of everybody. So when you look at the rankings for San Marino High School compared to the 3,162 other public high schools in California, we rank number 10 in English language arts and number 5 in math. That alone would be incredible. However, the 9 other schools ahead of us, which does not include La Cañada, by the way, the other 9 schools ahead of us are not comprehensive high schools. All 9 of them are application only middle college schools or magnet schools that do not serve an attendance area. And in fact, 7 of the 9 are not even on high school campuses, they're on college campuses. So when you only compare regular comprehensive public schools in English language arts, San Marino High School is the #1 high school in California. And the same thing in math, there are 4 schools ahead of us, but only 2 of them are comprehensive high schools. So that would put us at number 3 when looking at a school that serves an attendance area without an application process. And the interesting thing there is the 2 schools that are ahead of us in math are both in the same district. The Fremont Union High School District, which basically serves the Stanford area. So I'm going to assume that their kids are all children of Stanford math professors.
Or Silicon Valley.
Yes, and Silicon Valley, yeah, obviously. So, but amazing that 2 schools in the same district are essentially basically the 2 highest math schools in the state of California. But number 3, I think we're pretty happy with that. As I said earlier, CAST has remained flat, but we can absolutely do 10% better. There's no reason for us to far exceed La Cañada in English and math, but not exceed them in science, especially when our AP scores are higher than theirs in science. Last year's CAST prep, I think, was a big help. We did CAST prep lessons in homeroom last year, and so we will do that again this year. We had teachers who designed lessons in both English and math and then gave those out to all of our homeroom instructors. So every student was able to do CAST prep leading up to the exam. And then I also visited every single U.S. history class last year and showed them the results, talked about where we were in comparison to our competitors, and talked about some prizes and other things, which now we have been giving out so far this year. And then finally, our teachers are reading Visible Learning by John Hattie this year as a focus on what strategies have been proven to produce the most results. And when you look at all the educational research, every study that's ever been done shows the number one thing that affects student test scores is socioeconomics. There's nothing we can do about that. We are fortunate that we've been gifted with high socioeconomics. However, numbers 2 through 10 are all things schools have control over. And number 2, by the way, is quality of instruction. And there is a ceiling and a floor for socioeconomics. And so wherever you are in that range, you're not going to go above or below unless you're getting either good or poor instruction. So the fact that we all continue to go up is a testament to the quality of instruction that we are offering in our district. Here's our scorecard. I'll just concentrate on the growth opportunities. So this was from the previous year, and I'm happy to say that 3 of the 4 things that we focused on came true. I think the thing we're the most proud of is that you can see on the top under awards from last year, we were a gold AP honor roll school. And I actually presented this at a PTA meeting earlier in the year last year and said, this is what it would take to get to a platinum. So if we scroll down just a little bit, we were at 69%. And in order to get to platinum, we needed to be at 80%. And we are now this year, in fact, a platinum school, which is like less than 2% of all high schools. And our next steps, I am going to be releasing our science department teachers to work with me on analyzing the CAST scores. I do actually have a pretty good relationship with the former La Cañada principal, who's now their assistant superintendent, and we are going to be talking to them too. They have been nice enough to volunteer to have our science departments meet together. And so if they do have any tips or tricks that they have learned for this test, we are not beneath listening to them. We are also moving CAST into 11th grade. It is difficult. We are one of the only schools that was doing it in 12th grade. And it is difficult to motivate seniors. It's much easier to motivate 11th graders when it comes to just how hard they try on the exam. And we will take every percentage we can get. And motivation does count for several percentage points at least. We will continue using our NWEA and IXL targets. We know that there is a clear connection between the NWEA bands and the CASP bands. So we are identifying students early on that are close to band jumping. And those are the ones that we're asking our teachers to concentrate on. And we are rewarding our seniors this year who did so well on this exam last year. And most importantly, the awards are very public so that this year's juniors can see that we, they can see how well that the juniors last year did and hopefully want to do even better this year. And then we will do our CASP prep lessons in homeroom again when we get closer next semester.
Any questions, comments, board? Yeah.
I have one. So clearly a pattern that's emerging in science across the state, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, but CAST is aligned to NGSS. So to what extent can we see where NGSS was its implementation and then its interruption with COVID and its emphasis on inquiry-based learning and hands-on investigation and everything that's happened since then and what we're still trying to sort of catch up on? To what extent does that play into that? And then where does that tell us moving forward? Or how does that inform us moving forward as we're looking at the new science curriculum we're piloting?
So I'll start with that. So as we're looking at and reviewing the current pilot curriculum that we have, which is STEM scopes for grades 6 through 8 and TCI for grades K through 5. It's hard to keep them all because we're doing 3 different adoptions simultaneously.
And have you adopted the same across both elementary schools or each elementary?
No, the same. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Dual adoption is very complicated. And so we're hoping that we can maintain just one adoption for each level. The focus on the new adoption, it really is inquiry-based learning. And that's where you're going to see a lot of the principles of NGSS coming into the curriculum, allowing students to engage in like constructivist learning, small group instruction. So it's not just lecture-based reading the book, really aligning to the 3 main principles of NGSS. And that's the work that's really being done on those professional development days while they're dissecting the CAST assessment and looking what standards are being targeted and how those align to NGSS, as well as looking at the curriculum and really diving in and seeing what standards are being taught with the curriculum and how are they being taught. One of the things that we're using as our gauge kind of is the California Science Curriculum Framework, as well as a rubric that's provided by the state to evaluate the curriculum that you want to pilot. And that's really directly aligned to NGSS.
I'm trying to figure out how to say this. To what extent were we aligned with NGSS in prior years when it first came out compared to sort of where we're headed?
That would be very difficult for me to answer, only because I wasn't here when the district engaged in the NGSS training.
Right.
I know in my discussions with the science departments and the science teachers, as we've been rolling out the pilot adoption, the pilot process, that they do have a very broad and general understanding of NGSS, and they do have the framework and they do have the standards. So it's all right there for them. And they know that that's kind of the guiding principle that's leading into, number one, their instruction, the type of instruction that's being delivered, more inquiry-based, project-based, as well as what rubrics, what standards and principles to look in when we're looking towards a new adoption. So it is there to the degree. I'm not able to answer because I wasn't here when it was trained, but I know that it is at the forefront of all the discussions that are happening with the science departments and the elementary science teachers when they're reviewing the curriculum that we're piloting.
It feels like everybody, not just us, is playing a little bit of catch up.
I think that's true. I mean, just looking at the state results for CAST, the entire state is nowhere where we need to be. Ben said that the assessments that he has in his AP classes do not correlate to the scores that he's seeing in CAST. We know that at the elementary level, science is being taught, at the middle school, science is being taught, and there's just not a direct correlation. And it may be a number of reasons, and that's what the focus is this year with our professional development days, with grade level meetings, with department meetings, is really understanding what that is and how do we prepare our students to do well on that assessment.
Yeah, these are phenomenal. I wanted to, I don't know if we can go back to the first presentation that Dr. Richter gave, when that slide that shows us our comparison of how we did compared to other districts.
Yes.
And I think it's interesting to note, and this is really this is an accomplishment that I think that the district and the staff and the cabinet should be very proud of, is when you compare our performance to other school districts, and then you think about what it takes to fund, what the funding is that we get in our schools.
Yeah.
Compared to those other districts. I think not even the CAST ones. I mean, all of them really. If you go back and you just look at it, I mean, we get, you know, a third of what some of those schools are getting, and we're outperforming them.
I've been saying it everywhere that I have been speaking lately. We are one of the lowest funded school districts in the entire state of California. And we're one of the highest performing.
And I think people will say, oh, but you know, we raise money and we have parcel taxes, and we're still not spending as much as these other schools are spending.
That's right.
Per student with all of the extra money that we're putting into the school. So I mean, that's incredible to our student. It's a testament to our students and our parents and our teachers and our staff for all of the work that they do. So thank you very much. It's phenomenal. It really is.
And I just want to point out with you know, excluding the funding, it goes back to what the high school is reading with Hattie, is the level and the caliber of our instruction. Our teachers are amazing. Our teachers are highly qualified and highly committed, and they are boots on the ground every day with or without funding. Thank God to the generosity of our PTA and our schools foundation and our extended SMUSD community. But the quality of instruction is superior.
And I think also in addition to that, something that the district has worked really hard to do is to provide, I think Mrs. McAlpine said it, to create a space in which these students feel that they can take risks and feel safe to learn. If you don't feel safe, you can't engage in those higher order thinking. And I think this is a testament to the work that's being done to make sure their physical and their emotional needs are being met. And so kudos, it's phenomenal. It's really phenomenal. It's great. So thank you for doing all that work. Thank you for the presentation.
All right. Thank you so much for your presentation. Next These are action items. I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Stephen Choi to present resolution number 7. Resolution number 7. It is, oh, you're going to
Go
present.
ahead.
I'm
Thank
sorry.
you. Thank you, President Ryan.
Almost did it again. I almost did it again.
Thank you, President Ryan, members of the board, student board member Chloe, and executive team. Tonight, I will present and recommend that the San Marino Unified School District Board of Education adopt resolution number 7 in support of Proposition 2. Many schools across California, including here in San Marino, are aging, need repairs, and fall short of today's educational and safety standards. San Marino Unified School District has identified over $337 million in facility needs alone. Furthermore, school districts need financial support to implement new mandates, such as universal transitional kindergarten, expanded learning, later secondary school start times, and advanced energy efficiency goals. Proposition 2 addresses these challenges by providing essential funding for several key areas: renovating outdated schools, upgrading classrooms, building new ones to accommodate growth, and expanding career technical education facilities. It also includes efforts to improve drinking water quality, improve disaster preparedness, and help schools adapt to rising temperatures to ensure a safe environment for students and staff. Assembly Bill 247 placed Proposition 2 on the November 5th ballot, would authorize $10 billion in state bonds with $8.5 billion directed to K-12 projects. Of that, $4 billion would go toward modernizing and repairing existing school facilities, $3.3 billion for building new ones, and $600 million for expanding career technical education. If voters approve Proposition 2, these funds would provide crucial matching dollars for school districts that have their own bonds for construction projects. It is recommended that the San Marino Unified School District Board of Education approve resolution number 7 in support of Proposition 2.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, so Mrs. Gill, and who was second?
Second.
Lamb.
Yeah.
Okay, Mrs. Lamb.
The question real quick.
Mhm.
Is there any increase in taxes to the taxpayer should Proposition 2 pass that you know?
According to the language, the Proposition 2 is funded by the General Fund of California.
So there will be no additional taxes paid by the public. should
Correct.
Proposition 2 pass, and it's coming out of budget no matter what.
Correct.
So it's almost like Prop 98 monies where it's on top of.
It may redefine how the state divvies up the money, but it's coming out of the General Fund of California.
Not additional. Okay, thank you.
All right, so I have a motion on the floor from Mrs. Gill and Mrs. Lamb to adopt resolution number 7 in support of Proposition 2, kindergarten through grades 12 schools and local community college, public education facilities, modernization, repair, safety bond act of 2024. So with that roll call, Mrs. Lamb,
Aye.
Mrs. Chong,
Aye.
Mrs. Gill,
Aye.
Mr. Chang,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, aye, and Ms. Ta.
Aye.
All right. Next, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Jason Rose to present the California School Employees Association CSEA Chapter Number 120 Tentative Agreement.
All right, thank you and good evening, President Ryan, Board of Education, Superintendent Dr. De La Torre, Executive Cabinet, and Student Board Member Chloe. I am pleased to announce that we have reached a tentative agreement with the California School Employees Association Chapter 120, which is our CSEA bargaining unit. First and foremost, I would like to acknowledge and thank the members of the CSEA negotiating team, as well as our district's negotiating team, for their hard work, dedication, and collaborative spirit throughout this process. Reaching this tentative agreement required a great deal of effort, patience, and understanding from both sides, and I'm grateful for their commitment to finding common ground. We are proud to announce we have agreed on a 1% increase in salaries for all classified employees. Additionally, prior to the 1% increase, there will be a one-time bonus of 5% to be distributed to all classified employees in recognition of their hard work and dedication, especially during these challenging times. In addition to the salary adjustments, the other major change involves the reclassification process. We have collaboratively designed a reclassification process that benefits both the district and the classified employees. In addition to the previously mentioned items, we have also clarified and fine-tuned language regarding transfer procedures, leaves of absence, association rights, and layoff re-employment. We also discussed health benefits and the CSEA work calendar. We believe this tentative agreement represents a fair and balanced outcome for both our classified employees and the school district. It acknowledges everyone's hard work and dedication while ensuring that we can continue to provide quality education to our students. It is recommended that the board approve the tentative agreement between the San Marino Unified School District and CSEA Chapter 120. I'm
Yeah.
happy to answer any questions you may have.
May I have a motion or do you have any comments?
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. John. Thank you, Mrs. Gill. Roll call.
Aye.
Mrs. John,
Aye.
Mrs. Gill,
Aye.
Mr. Chang,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, I, Ms. Ta.
Aye.
Motion has passed. Thank you, Dr. Rose.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank
Rose.
you, Dr. Choi. All right, Board Superintendent discussion, Dr. Linda Delatorre, Mr. Chang, is there any,
I do have something really quick that is relevant to what we were talking about this evening that I would just like to highlight. And it, can you, Kwok, I'm so sorry, can you go back to the CASP? Yeah, presentation and look at one of the scorecards. Just pull up the high schools if you can. I just want to call to the attention of the Board of Education that during our goal setting process, one of the things that the Board of Education was interested in is really having us use data to inform our decisions. And I just wanted to demonstrate that Dr. Lena Richter has worked really hard with the principals, yes, you have, over the past couple of years on putting these together. And if you look at this one document, it gives you the good news about the school. It highlights all the wonderful things that are happening. It lists growth opportunities. So it really keeps the school on track with looking at where can we grow. And then bold steps. What do we do to really take it to the next level? And we are now really, because of the board's goals, focused on taking data, looking at data as administrators at the district level, as a leadership team with the principals and assistant principals. And the principals are taking data, working with their department chairs or grade level chairs and teachers at every campus, looking at that data and making decisions on how we can grow. And I think that is a big factor in where we are today. And I think that started with the Board of Education in their goal setting process. So I just wanted to call your attention to that, to also say thank you to Dr. Richter and the principals for really committing to this process of researching and looking at data and capturing it on one piece of paper that I think is a really powerful document. And it looks nice too, but it's really informative and it keeps us on task. And the work that's being done at San Marino High School, Reading Hattie is just, it's a wonderful next step for our teachers, our educators. And I know Dr. Wolf's working really hard on grading reform and things of that nature that we have really never explored or had opportunities to talk about with our teachers. And we're bringing them together with these ideas and really starting to see results. And it ties back to the board's leadership, their vision, their direction. And that is actually, you're seeing it now in action. And I just wanted to point that out tonight. I thought tonight would be a perfect opportunity to do so.
Yes,
Board
I
Member
just wanted to add about the scorecard. If it's already on the website, wonderful. If not, I really think it should be on there because it's such a great snapshot.
So this is now outdated. The principals are finalizing their 24-25 scorecards this year so that they have something to work towards when we get towards the state assessment coming up. We're also going to be working on a district one as well that really captures all of the district data. And those we can absolutely post on the website.
Great, thank you.
I love how cohesive it is because it really is one big family and community as the students matriculate up, and how really each student is known by their principal by name pretty much. And it's impressive work. So thank you.
Thank you for saying that. And our principals have really been, working on this for 2 years now, is that right? And just doing a great job and, I'm so proud of them and I'm so proud of the work that's being done, but it all started with you. And so I want to give the board the credit that is due. Thank you so much for your leadership and your vision. That's
All
it for
right.
me. Mr. Chang.
Mr. Chang.
Well,
Oh.
I really happy, tonight, first of all, appreciate Dr. Territory with the executive team and the whole school science, the principal. For so many years, I work as the school board. I think this year is like a harvest, everything, this year. It's a very exciting and I think also we can let our resident know, as you call the ability for hard work. I think they will get a harvest.
Mhm. Yes.
All right, on that
Oh,
note,
the board president leadership also.
Absolutely. 100%.
all right, so we will now adjourn our meeting, closed session.
Thank you.
No need for closed session, sorry. I didn't mean to call closed session.